be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before.
Hello, and welcome back to the Clinically Average Podcast. I'm Wolf. Here with me is Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
We're back with another exciting episode.
Back at a fresh one.
This is a good one. Back on track with the regular stuff. We're done
Full
with,
on topics.
We did a couple easy ones to get us through the holiday season there, but
Now we're going to get to the hard stuff.
the good stuff.
Real hard stuff.
This is episode 13.
Correct.
And if you haven't read the title, we're going to be discussing narcissism.
Narcissism.
But before we get into that, I want to make sure that you know about the clinicallyaveragepodcast.com. You can go there. You can read corresponding blogs to every episode that we do. Same content, but different content, a little different flair on it. So go ahead and go check that out, the clinicallyaveragepodcast.com. You can watch it. You can hear us, watch us, check it out on Spotify.
All that.
I always say here, but there's video on Spotify now.
It's video and everything.
And if you're on Spotify, you check that out at Clinically Average Podcast. On YouTube, you're going to go ahead and look up Clinically Average. Instagram at clinically_average_podcast. Check out TikTok's content there at clinically_average.
Don't forget the underscore.
Don't forget the underscore. That's an actual thing.
I mean, it'll show if you search it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. You
They're
guys,
smart.
You're smarter than us.
You got big brains.
And there's a Facebook page floating around if you still work with Facebook.
If you're into that sort of thing. Cover all the bases.
Why'd you say it like that? If they're into that sort of thing.
Yeah,
We don't kink shame.
that's true.
We content shame. We'd like you to find our content, look at it, rate it, 5 stars or 4 stars.
Like, follow, subscribe, all that cool shit. Hit the bell.
All the good stuff. Well, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Narcissism. Narcissistic narcissism. Narcissism.
Narcissism.
Jeez.
But yeah, let's get into it.
What is narcissism?
So that's a big one. So
Want a Webster's to start us off?
yeah, if you got the definition lined up, lay it on us.
I do. So, textbook definitions are as followed. Narcissism, noun, excessive interest in or admiration of oneself or one's physical appearance. The term narcissism is derived from a Greek myth about Narcissus.
I think it's Narcissus.
Narcissus. Narcissus. As a handsome Greek youth who fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. But that's the hard definition. In terms of psychology,
Which is what we'll be focusing on more.
they define it as selfishness involving a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, and a need for admiration as characterizing a personality type. Gee whiz.
Kid can't even read.
And then in the terms of psychoanalysis,
You got it.
got the S's today.
You got the S's.
Got the S's. Self-centeredness arising from a failure to distinguish the self from external objects, either in very young babies or as featured in a mental disorder.
Okay.
So that's the hard
Those are the hard definitions.
definitions of it.
So yeah, I guess we should lay some groundwork before we get into it. This is not meant to like disparage any kind of like mental health disorder. We're gonna get into mental health disorders in this.
Right.
And this is not to like punch down at people. This is definitely coming from a place of like understanding it. Because like I took probably a good 2 to 3 year break from social media up until like early this year, like very sparingly was on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of I was out of the loop on like what are the trending memes, where like what's everybody talking about? What's like the zeitgeist?
Yeah.
I was kind of checked out for a while. But I noticed when I got back into it, there's a huge just meme culture around narcissism. Like, my ex is a narcissist. My boss is a narcissist.
Just kind of loosely throwing a term
It's just,
around.
yeah, I'm just like, every person on Facebook is just sharing memes about narcissism or my narcissist. It's like, this is really strange that this is like a thing. Because, like, and I think I touched on in the blog, we've all heard the term narcissist.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's always heard that. It's just one of those things you just throw around. But I think everyone kind of thought of it more as, like, the first definition you gave.
It's just like
A vain person who's just, like, very full of themselves.
right. And I mean, that is the classical mythological sense, I guess.
I don't think people are going from. I don't think most people are like going from the mythological sense. That's
The
a little.
Greek tragedies.
But just like I think most people would assume it's the guy in the gym, like the veiny guy who's just like checking himself out and full of himself, and people who are posting like thirst trap pictures, like they're such narcissists.
I'm thinking of Patrick Bateman having relations with a lady of the night, but looking at himself and flexing in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he'd be closer to the clinical thing, and he'd be the embodiment of all of that. Yeah, Patrick Bateman is the embodiment of all the definitions of a narcissist. But yeah, we're not going on to that because, like I told you, like I would argue, I think most gym bros are not narcissists.
No. Yeah, I would say
I think the idea that people who are like working on their fitness and like trying to look good are people who are just. I don't want to blanket statement say everyone who does that is insecure, but when you talk to most people who are big, huge gym bros, they aren't these big, full of themselves, like cocky, arrogant people. That's typically not what gym culture actually really is like.
No, now modern gym culture is more nerdy dudes in anime t-shirts lifting a lot of weight.
Yeah, and and the women too. Like it's very much. I don't think that's a narcissistic community. I think that's insecure people who aren't into the gym who kind of project that onto people like that.
Yeah.
They're so full of themselves. Like, no, they're not full of themselves. That's why they're doing this.
Yeah. If they were full of themselves, they wouldn't feel the need to go work on themselves.
No, and like from my like journey into like understanding like actual like narcissism or NPD, which is the personality disorder, and people who have strong narcissistic traits, typically it's the most like impressive people that I see in my life or I would ever suspect that have more narcissistic, like clinical narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
It's like the dude who's not too much to look at, not that impressive, but when you talk to he's in his own, he's a legend in his own mind.
They create, I guess we'll get into that in a minute, but they create these realities for themselves where they are the star. They're the prime subject. They're as good as they can be, and everyone else needs to catch up.
It's going because like you could use the argument there because these are like cliches, but like the guy who's not that good looking, but he's super confident and goes and hits on all the chicks at the bar.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that guy is narcissistic, but I feel like I see more people like that who would fall into the narcissistic category as opposed to the big buff gym bro who's too scared to go talk to the girl at the bar.
Yeah. So there's also that distinction between like that maybe narcissistic characteristic and someone actually being a narcissist.
Yes. So that's what I mean. So we see these memes of people like calling someone a narcissist. So okay, much like autism and stuff like that, people are on a spectrum, and everyone is on a narcissistic spectrum. Everyone has some level of it. Everybody has a level of everything. When you become disordered, that means you're too high up on the spectrum of that characteristic.
You're pushing a little to the one side.
And like right there, like the guy who's going to do that, you can just say he's very confident.
Yeah.
But where it goes from confidence into a disorder is it's delusional.
So once we add that level of delusion,
yeah, you can overcome for your deficiencies by being extra confident. That doesn't make you narcissistic necessarily. It's just you have a lot of confidence. But if you're like truly inhabiting that character, and like it's not just confidence, like you truly believe, like I'm
better.
I am better. I am the shit. I deserve this. It's like, but yet on the surface, like, have you looked in the mirror lately?
Sorry to break the news to you, but this is what peak male performance looks like.
It's like, no, there's a thing, but the Patrick Bateman looking guy goes and does it also. It's like, it could be narcissism because he's probably very aware.
Yeah.
That he's what he looks like, and he's extremely confident, extremely charismatic, and that allows him to be manipulative. That gives him power.
So is that also an element that needs to be added in? Like, so we have that element of delusion that pushes us towards actual narcissism.
Yes, it's a delusion.
And then we also have to have that level, like the confidence, the delusion to it, and then the actual belief that you're the pinnacle, you're better, that people need to catch up.
Going from confidence into delusion is basically being confident without the receipts.
Okay.
Like you can be confident if you've done things to make you be confident, then you've earned your confidence. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have experience, you've been through some shit and come out the other side, and you become resilient, and you're mentally tough. Like, you'll gain confidence, and that's not being faked. It's not fake confidence. That's legit confidence. Delusion is when you have nothing to show that got you to that point of confidence.
You're still fully
This is an
believing.
act. This is delusion. This is
Okay.
you are perpetuating your idea of yourself onto someone else, even though it's not literally true.
Right. So, so why is it trendy right now? Like that it's kind of because like you talked about in the blog post, we talked about this before, where it's like people were so quick to throw like that term around. Like there was, oh, my ex was a narcissist. Maybe they just had some tendencies. A lot of people are quick to be like, oh, my boss is a narcissist. Maybe they're trying to make sure this business functions so everyone gets a paycheck.
And maybe are you ruling out that you are potentially a problem? But so it's like it depends on how much self-reflection and effort that person put into the research on this, or if they're just casually throwing that term out there. But my guess, if I'm trying to like be in good faith to people and not just assume everyone's being lazy and just using that term as a scapegoat, is that they because it has become part of the zeitgeist, like conversation, I don't think people had the language to describe it a couple years ago. So let's say, hypothetically, you did deal with someone very high in trait narcissism. Okay. Maybe it was a parent, maybe it was a boss, maybe it was an ex-lover. But you'd never heard the term or actually like fleshed it out and like even knew that it was a medical diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And then you're hearing people talk about it. And you're listening to podcasts, reading stuff on it, and like you start like kind of like putting the like, oh shit. And he's like, oh, yeah, maybe and then you really start combing over that
like,
person.
Oh, my dad acted like that when I was growing up.
Yeah, and like you start kind of, now that you've heard this concept and you're understanding the terminology and you're hearing the language and hearing other people's testimonials and talking about it, you're like, oh, maybe that is what I was dealing with. This makes a lot of sense. And then you just kind of start using it then. Yeah, it's become part of your language.
Yeah, because people are quick to jump to that, make one or two connections, and then just. Oh,
but if you've never heard of this stuff, you didn't know how to describe it.
No.
Because I had that happen a lot with different things where it's like, I've never heard of this concept. And then the concept is given to me, and then I can apply that to experiences in my past. And now I can talk about it with more,
more understanding, a basis, like some terminology, some definitions, some weight behind it.
And I think a lot of these things happen, like culturally, just over time. Like just there's certain things that come out and everyone kind of jumps on at the same time. Like everyone's discovered this new thing at the same time. So it's easy for people who are like contrarian or really cynical to just like discount it. Like, oh, this is just some meme. Everybody's being stupid. Oh yeah, sure, most of the narcissists. It's like, well, maybe they were. And they just didn't know how to describe it.
Maybe.
And now everyone's like, oh, I did deal with it. So it's not unlikely.
Yeah, I'm not here to discount anyone's.
It doesn't mean this person was disordered. Once again,
No.
It's just people can have high levels of narcissism.
So not to discredit anything that anyone's ever experienced, but maybe you did experience a full-blown narcissist and just didn't know how to describe it, or maybe you were involved or worked with someone or experienced someone who had some tendencies, and like now you're seeing that, and now you have a label for it, and now you're putting something onto it.
Well, maybe now we can help people contribute to this, and we can start getting into like the actual nitty-gritty, discussing what this actually means, and maybe you have dealt with somebody like this, or maybe you're this person. I don't know.
I'm this person.
maybe you're the narcissist. I don't know.
Well, can I pull one of your quotes real quick?
Go for it.
If you think you're a narcissist and you ask yourself the question, could I be a narcissist, is a pretty good indicator that you're not a narcissist.
It's a pretty good chance you're not. If you're worried about that, if you found this because you're looking...
If you're concerned, and if you're going and doing the research to find out if you are a narcissist, probably not.
From the people I've talked to, and like personally, and just from like reading stuff online, it's like, no, most people who are narcissistic aren't self-aware unless they have somehow got tricked into going to therapy and got put through like cognitive...
Had an intervention.
Cognitive therapy. Because that's kind of the whole point of the disorder is you're not self-aware in that way. You were living in a delusion.
Yeah.
So why would you be the problem? Why would you go to therapy?
Why do you don't need to come down from your ivory tower.
Yeah. Everyone else is trying to pull you down from your ivory tower.
Yeah.
All the peasants are trying to drag you down.
Why would these ugly peasants do this to me? God.
But so NPD is the technical term for narcissistic personality disorder. It's considered a cluster B personality type, which is how they just organize these. There's 4 big ones, and it's NPD, BPD, borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder.
And these are all put together as cluster B in the, what is that? I heard that in college, and then
The DSM-5.
Yeah, I haven't heard that till now since college.
That's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. That's just
There you
how they, check. That's like their book to go check on, like for
Yeah, the guidebook, the handbook for
yeah.
psychologists,
Yeah.
clinical, whatever. People with bigger brains than I.
people who have actual doctorates and degrees that we do not have. Once again, we're just
Yeah,
two
this-
dudes.
This is not medical advice.
You go check all this shit. You don't have to take my word for it.
Yeah, do your research.
We're just a couple guys trying to understand
Check the facts.
stuff above our pay grade. But yeah, cluster B personality disorders are characterized by being dramatic, manipulative, emotionally erratic, and potentially violent towards themselves or others. Fun fact about this, so like this could be like maybe to dispute the fact that your ex probably wasn't a narcissist or your boss wasn't a narcissist. In theory, this kind of gives ammo to people who say it's probably not true. Because statistically, there's only an estimated 1.5% of the population that is diagnosed as one of these 4 disorders.
So 1.5 of the entire population
Of
falls into
50 million people
of the world.
of our, well, I think I was doing from the U.S.
The U.S. is what, 335 million?
Yeah, which if I think I did the math for that, it'd be like 10,000 people.
Were actually diagnosed as one of the 4 cluster Bs.
Yes.
Not necessarily narcissists.
And I know from talking to different people that they truly believe that like they're very underdiagnosed. Mm-hmm. Like it's hard to diagnose these things. Like it's not an easy thing you can just go do because it has a lot of comorbidities with a lot of other disorders. Not even cluster B.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who have like extreme ADHD or OCD, like obsessive compulsive disorder.
Exhibit symptoms of.
A lot like basically these. Once you get to this level where you're diagnosed with a personality disorder, you have like 5 or 6 of those.
And they all just
Like you have like
compound
anxiety,
and-
depression, ADHD, OCD, like PTSD, and like it's just all wrapped up in one big clusterfuck of.
that now becomes.
Once there's so
one of the
many,
cluster Bs.
it's a disorder. It's a personality disorder. But from what I understand, like in particular, BPD people say is widely underdiagnosed.
A BPD.
BPD is wildly underdiagnosed, they think. Out of all these, that's more common than people think it is. It's just not reported that much.
Yeah. But again, BPD is one of those, and again, with all of these cluster Bs, it's hard to diagnose. It's hard to put a pinpoint on it. It's a lot of time working with therapists and psychologists to even come to the idea that, hey, this might be.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, like, so people could use that, oh, so it's a very low chance you're running into them. With NPD in particular, I would use the argument where I feel like those kind of people aren't the therapy types
No. Why? They're so good and perfect. Why do they need to go to therapy?
and would be very defensive in a therapy session, would be very not into the idea of being psychoanalyzed. So I think there's more people that have that than they don't, than that number suggests.
Okay.
But, that's just all conjecture on my part. A lot of this is conjecture on my part.
Yeah.
Just trying to take stats and information and put it out as best as possible.
Apply it to things we've seen or things we've read about. Yeah, that makes sense because if someone is wallowing in their own delusion about how awesome and great they are, why would they open up to a therapist? Why would they participate in that?
Or like if you're dating someone that's that way, they're not going to, and like you suggest like go to therapy, that'd probably be the worst thing you could do. Mm-hmm. They're not going to take that well. You should get therapy.
No.
Is how that would go.
Yeah. I don't need therapy. Obviously, you're the one who needs therapy.
Don't gaslight me. Obviously, you need therapy. You're crazy.
Gaslighting's not real. You're just crazy.
Yeah, like,
Go get
that
help.
is one of the that's like big characteristics of this personality disorder is a lack of accountability, gaslighting. Like this is where this, that's where they make their money. That's where they make their living in his gaslighting
Yeah.
to make you feel crazy to dispel any suspicions that they are not well.
So, like, whenever you're dealing with someone who may be a narcissist or one of these cluster Bs, it's like walking on eggshells, consistently trying to appease them or keep up with them, or keep up with that delusion,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So we'll get into the, we should probably then get into like, how does this work? So why it's like when you get with a narcissist, it's usually in the context of abuse, an abusive relationship, because it's inherently, if you're with someone like this, it's whether it's a parent-child relationship, boss, employee relationship, husband-wife, boyfriend-girlfriend. These are, it's inherently abuse. Like I don't think there's any way to get out of a relationship with this with you not having the effect. You might not know it until you're after, but like it's.
You're saying that, like, it's intentionally abusive?
The difference between like narcissism and like BPD, because people I think kind of throw them interchangeably, is that BPD, borderline personality disorder, is not necessarily malicious. That's kind of where these, like, because there's a lot of similarities when you put it on paper of what they have to get to that disorder.
Yeah.
The differentiating factor, from what I understand, is that narcissism is there's inherently a lot of malicious intent behind it. It's like it might be like second nature to them to act this way, but it is inherently like taking advantage of people.
Yeah, and I know, particularly with BPD, it doesn't come from a place of anything evil or malicious or anything like that.
Theirs is kind of like, well, both of these are kind of like survival adaptations.
Yeah. So one of the bigger things with BPD is like that fear of abandonment.
Both
so
have fear of abandonment.
So it's like I have to, like, I find someone, I get them attached to me, I test them, and if they prove it, cool. If they keep up with what I need, cool. But like whenever there's a rocky period or there's some questionable things there, or someone needs space in that relationship, it's like they don't like that, and now it's
in like an attack.
Yeah, and then that survival kicks in. It's like, okay, I need to discard them and have the power in the situation before they discard me.
Because they just assume that's a given.
Yeah, because someone in their life is discarded.
And that's why you have to come to this topic with a little bit of sensitivity and understanding, because you don't get this way without abuse in your life.
No,
like
these
like abusiveness is very much. I even make the illusion in the blog. It's vampiric. Like abuse, hurt people.
Yeah.
So like, and I know a lot of people when they get into this rabbit hole of looking this stuff up, it's usually from a place of they've been hurt. It's from pain. You are upset. You've been hurt by somebody who you either suspect or know has an issue on this spectrum. So you're looking like you're upset about it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, it's that weird thing where you feel sympathy. You're almost sympathizing with someone who's abusing you because you're aware that they didn't get this way by choice.
Yeah. They're doing this because this is what they need to feel secure.
They've been in a survival mode probably since they were kids.
And so now I need to do X, Y, ABC, X, Y, Z, and I need to work within this realm and this reality.
You're working within their parameters.
Working within their parameters to make them feel secure and comfortable and okay.
Yes.
Because it is from a terrible place. That's where these feelings come from.
Yes. So then when you're like looking into this kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, you don't usually go look into this kind of stuff unless you've been like made to go look into it.
Yeah.
like I don't think most people are researching, narcissistic abuse unless they suspect they've.
No, I've never been sitting on a couch and be like, I wonder what narcissism's all about.
Yeah, like unless you have some reason to take an interest in it, you're not gonna just. I mean, I do that, but also I don't know if everybody's that way. But so we'll get into the act of how abuse actually works, and there's a good analogy I went through, and we kind of touched on this on the Love and Infatuation episode, one of them, about how like trauma bonds are created.
Yes.
Which is basically the idea of like someone like it gives you your drug, your dopamine hit, which is like attention, love, praise, and then they take it away from you, and then they give it back to you, and they take it away from you, and then they take it away for longer, and then they give it back to you. And they did an experiment in the 70s at Harvard with pigeons and rats called operant conditioning chambers, or Skinner boxes. The psychologist was named B.F. Skinner, so they named it after him, which just sounds kind of grotesque, actually, like Skinner boxes. It's just uncomfortable.
Sounds like something you'd find in a horror survival game.
Like a Saw movie.
Skinner box.
But essentially, they have pigeons and rats in cages, and they have a lever.
Okay.
They pull the lever, a pellet comes out, and everyone's happy. We're all good.
I did the task, got the reward.
And at first, it's pretty consistent. When they pull the lever, they get their pellet.
Okay.
Then they start putting a gap in between how often they get their pellet.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, now it takes 4 pulls. Now it takes 10 pulls. Now it takes 20 pulls. And their anxiety grows in between. They're sitting there just hammering on the lever because they want it. And then they start doing incremental. Like, okay, one time you'll get it after 2 pulls. Next time it's after 10. Then it's after 3. Then it's after 25. And they just drive these things crazy. Like,
they just don't know when they're going to get
because even when they get the
reward.
pellet now, they're still, it doesn't give them the same satisfaction as it used to because they don't know when the next one's coming.
Okay, so it's like, oh, I got rewarded after 10 pulls, but I don't know if it's going to take another 10 pulls or 25, or maybe the next one will come quick.
Yeah, they don't know. So they're in a perpetual state of anxiety.
So how do these rats like smooth over that anxiety? Are they thinking like, well, I better just get back to work? And now they're in the trap.
Yeah. And they're in a trap with nothing in there. So there's nothing they can do. It's pretty dismal.
That's very dismal.
But how an NPD they essentially recreate this, is they have their own Skinner box method.
Okay.
Love bombing, devaluing, and discarding.
Okay.
It's a cycle. They run them in threes. So the love bomb is the pellet.
Okay.
You pull the lever, you get love bombed. Like you get attention, praise, love, all that good stuff.
Love that.
Then it's basically you either get the love bomb or you get devalued every time you pull the lever. Okay. Devalue, I mean, if we want to define we should probably define what that is. That's not a given.
Devaluing.
Devalue is just basically like they start tearing you down, insult you, gaslight you, make you feel insecure, criticize you. Mm-hmm. So it's like you pull the lever, like your lover gets home, your dad gets home, and when they come in the door, you don't know if you're going to get nice, loving version of them or the one that's going to come home and bitch at you for what you didn't do, or just they had a bad day and they're taking it out on you.
Yeah, it's the come home and the house is clean, but the one thing
you didn't do, they catch.
Yeah, the last plate all the dishes are done, the kitchen's clean, but there's still a fork in there.
Yeah,
it's like
you took a bite of peanut butter with, and it's just like
yeah. Instead of awesome that you clean the house, you motherfucker.
Yeah, like one day, for the first while, like you're getting consistently praised. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, nice, they appreciate when I do this thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I'm a piece of shit for this one. But it starts off subtle because if it was that way at the beginning, people, oh, okay, this is kind of fucked up. So they have to love bomb you consistently. The pellet has to keep coming on every lever pull,
right,
for an extended period of time.
It gets you hooked.
Oh, I like this. I pull the lever, get what I want. This is nice.
I like this. This is awesome.
So after an extended period of time, whatever it is, then it starts to become like a roulette wheel. Mm-hmm. Like you're playing slots. You don't know which one you're going to get.
So this is the testing. This is the
testing. Yes.
How committed are you to this? Are you going to sit here? Are you going to deal with this? Are you going to do what I need you to do?
Are you going to keep stepping up every time I devalue you and do more to make up for your slight? But to you don't realize it's not actually a big deal.
Do you only act like this because I'm going to give you attention, or are you going to be this consistent?
You're being trained.
Yeah, you're being trained. You're being conditioned.
You're being an operant conditioning chamber. You're being conditioned. It's like a pigeon or a rat in a cage.
I'm thinking about Smashing Pumpkins now.
Right. The world is a vampire.
Wow, that might have some new context after this episode. You'll listen to that on the ride home.
But I made that point. I said after you learn about this stuff and you listen to most rock songs or rap songs, it's just or even sad country songs, oh wow, this person was dealing with
yeah, they dealt with a cluster B.
They were dealing with somebody disordered. You can just tell and listen to the lyrics. I'm like, oh, okay.
All right.
I get the imagery. I get the analogies in this song now. Okay.
I feel you.
You were abused. I get it. But then the third stage is a discard. And I guess there's a discard A and discard B. I guess we can get to that. That one we'll get to later.
Okay.
But discard is not a literal, in this sense, it is not a literal discard, not a physical one.
Okay.
It is a mental, emotional discard. So essentially, they do the love bombing, devalue, back and forth. Then they emotionally detach from you. You don't know this. You're unaware. But what a narcissist needs is a firm, a consistent level of attention, not just from you. So in this case, I have to look, I guess if it was a parent relationship, say you have siblings.
Okay.
They might be cycling through who's their favorite sibling or their favorite kid.
Okay.
You're the golden child, but you did something to fuck up. Now your brother's the golden child.
Right.
And it just kind of jumps back and forth. And then then you're like constantly seeking their
Yeah.
approval.
Like, what the hell?
What did I do? What did I do?
I'm not getting praised. My grades went up.
Yeah.
You liked that before. Why don't you like it now?
So in a romantic relationship, this is usually when they are like off flirting with other people, or like bad mouthing you to coworkers, doing anything to try and get some kind of attention to like validate themselves.
Right. They need that supply.
And
need that
it's
attention.
the term they use is supply, which I said sounds very vampiric. Like they're sourcing other people for their supply.
Yeah. Well, like this one's drained. I got everything I could out.
It's also like scouting. They're looking for potential long-term supply. They have short-term and long-term supplies. And the insinuation is they're pretty much always keeping tabs on other people because they can't just get that. They typically can't get that validation from one source.
Right.
They need multiple sources at all times. But there's like the main source and their side sources. So then usually when they're in that emotional discard phase, they are looking for a potential. Oh, if they don't find anything, then they come back to the love bombing phase and they start to cycle over again. To discard B is the final discard, which is eventually the physical discard.
Actual.
They've found their backup source, their long-term source.
They found their new long-term supply.
Yes. You are now gone.
You're drained. I'm going to this one.
Drained is a good term.
Yeah. You're drained. You have no more supply left for me.
And that's literal and like metaphorical. Like anyone you like talk about, it's like, oh yeah, like financially, I'm physically in worse condition. I am mentally in worse. You are drained.
Yeah.
By the time this is done, they've taken everything from you. It is, you are a shell. You are a husk that the vampire has just sucked all the life out of.
I cannot stop thinking in terms of vampires.
Yeah.
As soon as you said
it's
word vampiric and vampiric.
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 I like that. But no, as soon as I read that in the blog, I was like, this is on my mind. It's all just analogous to Dracula now.
Yeah.
It still fits.
It
still fits.
The
very
analogy's
well.
there. When I first started writing it, I was actually almost doing it from that level of just doing like a vamp. I'm like, that just seems insensitive.
But not inaccurate.
Not typically, not really inaccurate.
Insensitive, but not inaccurate.
I'm trying to be a better person.
Look at us.
Look at us growing.
Growing, learning.
Learning is wise.
Being better. Dracula. What?
Yeah, that's their operant conditioning, trauma bond creating cycle that keeps you in this like perpetual state of like cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
And I guess we should go into the other aspect of that, why you're trapped in that cognitive dissonance. Like in any even if it's not like an NPD or you're dating someone like this, like abuse is abuse, regardless if the person is disordered.
Yeah.
And it creates this similar level of cognitive dissonance where you just feel like you're trapped in this relationship, but like in your mind, you're making it seem like it's not as bad as it is. That's cognitive dissonance. You're living in what they call the term when you're dating someone like this, or you're in a relationship like any kind with this kind of person, is what they do. It's like I said earlier, it's a survival mechanism. That's what like all these disorders are. It comes from abuse as a child. Essentially, they're in a perpetual state of arrested development. As children, they were abused, didn't get their attention they needed, and they created a false persona.
Okay.
And with that, to like protect themselves. So they're insecure, abused kids, and they create this like stronger version of themselves, this hyper, powerful version of themselves in their own mind. And then they create a false reality on top of that, where the rules to this false persona apply, which just so happens to be our real world.
Yeah.
But they're blurring these. When you get pulled into that bubble, that cognitive dissonance bubble, you are buying into their false character and their false reality.
So you're just feeding and validating that level of delusion they've cast over.
Yes, it's like a spell. And they call that now it's a shared reality or a shared fantasy.
Okay.
Now you are invested in this character they are portraying and the reality you two are building together. You are now almost like, in a way, complicit in building this reality. You are feeding into it.
So what happens whenever you've been drained and you can't feed into it anymore?
The bubble pops and you see it for what it really is. And that's why it's traumatic, because it's like the final discard literally comes like that. You don't know it's even, sometimes you don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
In hindsight, when you look back, you see all the signs.
Yeah.
And like probably the people around you saw it, your friends, family, like, oh, this is something weird's going on here. But like you are in the bubble with them. You're in it. You are trauma bonded. You are seeing a false reality. You're in cognitive dissonance. You buy it.
Oh, no, I've seen situations of someone, dealing with a cluster B person, and it was
Like
like,
I said, not even cluster B, but just in a toxic relationship, you see this.
and it's just like,
In a run-of-the-mill toxic relationship. you see
everything
this.
was a little rocky. Now they're coming back stronger, good. Like, okay, this looks very healthy now, and then 2 days later, bang,
Yes.
they're off with someone else. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell happened there?
Yeah, because it's the other term that they use there, like why you're so invested, is the term they use in this. It's called mirroring.
Okay.
So when you meet these people, like I said, they're playing a character.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping the mask insinuates they can wear different masks. It's not there. This is a new one. They changed them.
So when they come in to get entangled with this new person,
They apply a new mask. They create a new character sheet for D&D.
and when they make this new character sheet and they apply this new mask,
They're making their stats based on how they get to know you.
so they're pulling characteristics and likes
They're
and interests.
quizzing you. They're being
from
charming,
you.
getting all the information out of you, getting everything they want to know, your insecurities, what you like, your dreams, your aspirations, your history, so they can build themselves into the perfect counterpart for you.
to get you.
Then you're hooked. Because then
You're
whenever they're
hooked, you're
abusing
invested.
you and like devaluing you, you're like, I can't fuck this up. This is the perfect person. God, I'm fucking this up.
I'm never gonna find someone else who likes.
I
Haley
found my
this
soulmate.
much.
I found
Yeah.
my soulmate. I found it. Like, and I'm fucking it up. God damn it. Like, because they mirrored in the first half in the level one stage that they are just, you guys have the most chemistry. Yeah, because they tailor made this new character to be the ultimate like seduction for you. You're in.
Damn succubus.
Yeah, like that's how this works. Now, I don't have the experience in like a parental, like familial thing, but it's very common when I go down these people talking about like narcissistic parent relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. There's different aspects to how this dynamic would play out.
Yeah, I
But-
guess the context we're thinking of is more like romantic interest.
Yeah,
All
I
these
think even like
analogies.
friendships, stuff like this. But I imagine all this would apply.
Okay. Yeah.
But like I said, I don't have that experience as much, and I can't relate as much. But yeah, so basically, once it goes down, like you just feel like you dropped the bag. They've convinced you that you have dropped the bag.
What have I done?
Yeah, what have I done?
What did I do?
Yes.
And really, it might not be anything. It might not be anything you've done.
Because the sick part at the end is like we said, the term supply. They want supply from it. So you get, when the final discard mask drop happens, you are now you are still in the picture to them.
Yeah.
You're relegated to side supply. They want you to chase, to beg, to apologize, to validate them, to take all their accountability away, take all the blame for how the relationship went.
They have to.
Or be the bad kid, or I ruined our relationship. I was just a bad kid. I didn't listen, or I was a bad employee.
They have to keep that level of power.
They
So
want
it's like
you're subjugated,
You see how this was your fault.
because now they're getting
Good.
Yeah, that's just like building them up to a higher pedestal. I am desired by multiple people. I'm the shit.
Don't chase.
Oh, absolutely not.
Do not chase. You don't get triangulated.
That's the other term. Yeah, triangulation, when they're doing like the emotional discard.
Yeah.
Like they want to rub it in your face that you're an option, but that makes you want to try harder because you're in this cognitive dissonance bubble and you're addicted.
Yep.
So you're like overcompensating.
Going about learning about all this, they said like once you're like discarded, and like if you are on that chase end of this situation, it's quite literally the same as like coming off of drugs.
Yeah.
Like specifically cocaine. It's like that, like they were giving you that hit. They were the same receptors, and the same dopamine receptors and action that goes on in your brain as if you were doing a line or dealing with one of these people.
Yeah, this is
It's
toxic relationship on steroids.
Yeah, it's the same reaction. So like when you get discarded,
You
I
literally
don't
are
have-
going through immediate withdrawals
Yeah.
from your drug, from your dopamine. It's gone.
That's awful.
And typically in these cases, also characteristic is they cut you off of you are cut off from other sources. Mm-hmm. They isolate you to make them the center of your world. So then you don't have anything to fall back on.
No.
Like, even like friends, family, they try to isolate you.
So now you're.
So then you have no choice but to chase after that.
Because I need my fix. I want to pull the lever again. I need another dopamine hit.
Yes.
And I don't have anywhere else to get it because I've been trained and conditioned. I can only get it from you.
Yes.
And then you stop giving it to me, and now you won't give it to me at all because you're off.
But they
giving
love
it
that.
to somebody else.
Yes, and they feed off it.
No.
And that's what makes this malicious, as opposed to from my reading of like BPD and stuff, where it's like they have a thing called splitting, where it's like they just kind of, it's kind of like the Discord, where it's like, I've made the decision, I'm done, I have no more emotions towards you.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. But they don't want to like torture you. They're doing it to get away from you, like save themselves.
Yeah.
But it's not to like keep you on the hook.
No, but there's still, what do you call that? Collateral damage.
Well, I mean, you're still feeling the effects. Like, you're still feeling the effects
on it.
But like, it's like the intent coming from the two different kinds of, where one is malicious and one is just like, I gotta get out of here.
There's a lack of intent.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that self-preservation.
Like compulsion.
Yeah. And it goes back to that self-preservation, just like, I need to cut them off now and go to my new supply. So I'm just done with that.
One of a great quote I heard on this the other day, actually, like go with that, because at the end of it, you are like, you're the victim here, but when they go into the final discard phase, they do a technique called Darbo, which I describe as like gaslighting, like a Kamehameha beam of like gaslighting, like a souped up version of it.
Just one giant blast.
Which Darbo stands for, what is it? Now I can't find it. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Deny, attack, and reverse victim offender.
Deny, attack, reverse victim offender.
Yeah. So you like, I didn't do that. What? No, you did that. Does that kind of stuff like, you think I just, like, but no. Like, what about when you did this? And start pulling it. So it's a constant stream of that level of gaslighting. Always. That's always the response. No matter what it is they've done, they won't be held accountable.
They can't be held responsible.
So they will continue to use that tactic. It's always your fault. And they keep doing that to the point where they gaslight themselves into believing you are abusive. So then they have to get out as a self-preservation mechanic. Mm-hmm. And then you also buy into that. That's why it's abuse. They literally just swap the role and you buy it. They do it so convincingly. They buy it themselves.
I can't believe you've done this to me.
Well, I can't believe I've done this.
And that's the thing. They do it as like that self-preservation. Like, just ignore all the shitty things I've done. Wow, I can't believe you did this to me. This is why I'm leaving. No, wait. I still no, you're bad. You bad. Me good. New supply, real good. You bad.
Yeah. And you're being called every abusive name in the book to the other people.
Yeah. It's like,
you are being smeared. You are being lambasted as like a monster. And you're just like, I have no idea what that is. I guess I am. Oh, wow. I didn't know I was. I didn't know I was an abusive piece of shit. But
it's real easy to fall into that. Just like, what the fuck did I do?
I think it was Jimmy Carr was on a podcast today. He was talking about it. I think he was in the context of like a narcissistic parent. Mm-hmm. And he described it as essentially they have the disease, but you're the one that gets left with the side effects.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, fuck. That's really poignant way to phrase that.
So how, I don't know, man. What do we do? How do we see these things? And how do we avoid this? How do we avoid getting trapped in one of these situations? Because it is very, like when you get involved and when you get entangled with someone who is an actual narcissist, there's that level of...
Or just high trait narcissism.
Yeah. There is that
just
level...
any kind of generally abusive person.
Yeah, there's just that level of just... they are controlling the situation and they're telling you, what's going on. They're feeding you the dopamine. They're setting the stage. They're creating that reality, and you kind of get lost in it.
It's intoxicating.
It's intoxicating. It's intrinsic.
It's very vampiric.
It's very.
It's like classic vampire story. Where they are the ultimate like seductress, ultimate seductive being, who's able to just manipulate you.
So when we went and talked, I believe on the love and infatuation stuff, we talked about like that 3-month rule and looking for red flags. What are things that if you're getting involved with somebody or with a friendship, a new relationship, I guess it would be too late to look at warning signs if it's a parental thing.
Yeah.
But if you're getting into something new,
That's a whole different can of worms.
yeah, if you're getting into something new, a new relationship in whatever regards.
I think that's the scary thing, is after you, because this kind of lifts the veil
Yeah, like
on like,
anybody.
oh, people can be like this.
So someone could be.
Because like we've all had run of the mill like toxic relationships or just bad relationships.
Yeah, it happens.
But like I said, these are kind of like toxic relationships on steroids. Like you aren't prepared for something like this, no matter what. So I imagine that everybody who's had anything they think is along these lines. Dating again is a very treacherous land to navigate because you are perpetually looking for signs.
Yeah.
It's almost problematic
So
because you can think yourself out of it because you can start looking for these symptoms. Like you're the one with the side effects now. You're looking for this.
like you're just like the red herring thing. You're just like looking for, like, God, just give me a reason to stop to ghost this girl.
A guy I saw was talking about this because like one of the big things now people use, another term I use there, which has become kind of a meme, like a big thing, is the term love bombing. Mm-hmm. And the guy was kind of arguing, he's like, all right, I kind of don't like how this has become a thing where this is like, now if someone's just showing too much interest, it's a red flag.
Yeah,
Like, oh, this person's really nice and really wants to get to know me and is like really open about things.
Like
Because
this-
most people are like, oh, red flag, they're sharing their trauma too soon. They're doing this kind of stuff. Oh, they're probably a narcissist. Like, well, just because that's something that's like in the playbook of someone who's disordered does not mean that everybody who's just trying to have a genuine connection with you does not mean they're trying to manipulate you. And trust me, I've really had to like try and watch myself. Like I'm like, oh fuck, because I'll catch myself like where before I'm like, oh, I'd really like this conversation, but now I'm like analyzing the conversation. I'm like, oh, this is kind of scaring me.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
This is kind of scaring me.
This is what the last one did. You're the same way.
And it's
Get
like,
away from
but
me,
you got to try
vampire.
and like, so it makes it hard to delineate because you've been abused and now you're looking for signs of I don't want to have that happen again.
No, God, no. No one wants to get. No one wants to run to a second vampire.
Like, man, I survived one vampire. I can't survive another. I don't want.
Yeah, like how?
So now you become like hyper vigilant, and it's like having to like learn to be like less hyper vigilant,
So
but still trying to like set boundaries and protect yourself.
because you don't want to become hyper vigilant to a point of where
Where you
it's
completely shut yourself
disruptive.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's disruptive to building new relationships or maintaining
It's
relationships.
creating trust issues. It's creating harder for you to be open and trusting in the way that you have to be for an actual genuine relationship to take place.
It's like, how do we actually spot
Like
a
someone
vampire?
hijacked your idea of love.
Yeah,
And that's why it's it is an abusive tactic. It's like because the person afterwards is caught with the side effects. They have the disease, but they are off acting like nothing ever happened because that's just how they operate. The person who's left behind has all these side effects now. That's why it's abuse.
So we fall in love with the vampire. They drain us. They cut us off. And now we're afraid of getting bitten again. So then we might as well just get,
I mean, that's why dating is such. I mean, go back to the modern dating, because so many people out there in the dating pool have dealt with some kind of abuse.
Yeah, and especially once you get to the dating pool, like we talked about in Love and Infatuation again, when you get to a point of where we're at, like, the good ones are off married, they're high school sweethearts, and now it's like you are dealing with people who have been abused, and you probably are a person who's been abused.
Mm-hmm. Or you've accidentally abused people.
And what's the thing? I remember you said it once. It was like when you get into a new relationship like this, it's like you're shaking hands and just be like, I don't want, like, I know we both have snakes. I don't want your snakes to bite me. I don't want to let my snakes bite you.
It's the acknowledgement that you're both full of snakes,
Yeah.
but you have to like trust each other either way. Because every relationship's that way. Even if you haven't been abused, that's still a
That's still a thing.
that's
But
a
now,
universal truth.
but now it's extra scary if you've been abused in that way or you've been in a situation like that. It's like,
Oh, I really know how
God,
bad
I
those
re-
snakes hurt.
yeah.
I really know how bad those snakes can bite.
Those are big
Those
snakes.
snakes are bitches. God damn.
Bitch ass snakes.
Ass serpents. Everybody just got our video pulled.
Oh well. They won't pull it for that. I'll bleep it.
Okay.
I'll bleep it.
Okay.
I'll bleep that word. It's good. It's a good Will Ferrell movie though.
I had some other tangent I wanted to go off on, and then I kind of. Oh, the other reason why it is hard to identify if you're out looking for this kind of thing, is there are two. Well, actually, there's like multiple like subgenres. If we want to get like subgenres of vampires, narcissists.
Okay.
There's the two big ones that people talk about that you'll run into are grandiose and covert/vulnerable.
Okay.
Are the two terminologies. Grandiose, you know what it is when you see it.
That is the.
That's the more typical classic. That person's very full of themselves.
Hey peasant, come here and look at me. Look
Yeah.
at my awesomeness.
Overcompensating for their insecurities.
What people think of that traditional sense is the Greek dude loving himself in the pool. The Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, that's the Patrick Bateman type.
The not hiding anything. We're out here. We're here. Look at me. I'm awesome. I'm better than you. You're
Which
welcome.
Typically, like, and this disease in general, this disorder skews male.
Narcissist skews
NBD scales dramatically male.
Okay.
BPD is more female.
Okay.
But not that it isn't. But yeah, NPD is much more male. So it's that the peacocking guy in a lifted truck. I said it's like the lifted truck with smokestacks of disorders. It's right out there. You see it.
We all know what it is.
You're overcompensating. It's like I said. It's a what's the term? An inferiority complex disguised as a superiority complex.
Okay.
That's what creates this. Like, people think it's somebody with a superiority complex, like a god complex. No, it starts out. This is inherently just a inferiority complex on steroids.
I've been hurt.
A damaged inner child who's insecure, who creates this big buff persona to cover up the insecurity. But they're still basically just that insecure kid wearing a suit.
Yeah.
That's the analogy I would use for that.
They can't grow past that insecure child, insecure inner child.
The covert or vulnerable looks like the insecure child on the outside,
Okay.
but they are hiding the Patrick Bateman inside.
That's devilish.
Yes. It's usually like the down on their luck person. You help them, pick them back up. You're like taking care of them, helping them.
Look at me.
But on the inside, they are resenting you because they feel they are actually better than you. If they didn't have a lot of bad life circumstances happen to them, they'd be so much better than you. They deserve all the nice things you have. Why do you get that? Why does everybody else have nice things? I'm brilliant. But no one can see the Patrick Bateman inside me.
Yeah.
That's the covert. So you can't really see that one. That's the scary. The people that I think people think of like the grandiose narcissist when they think of narcissist.
But no one thinks about the oh, let me help you, and then it bites you.
And then they stab you in the kidney.
Like,
It's the snake in the grass because that just gets you in the ankle, cuts your Achilles when they're behind you.
God, I don't like this. I'm not
You get
dating.
Caesared by the coverts.
I'm done. I'm done dating. I'm single.
That is what makes it scary.
I'm getting a
idea
dog.
Of the covert. Like in any relationship, people who have those kind of tendencies, it's like wounded duck
Yeah.
that you nurse back to health, and then they, bite you.
Well, we got to keep a handle on our fixer mentalities.
That's been my thing going into dating. It's like I don't need to fix people. I don't need to be a people pleaser. That's because I said I think one of the things that gets people in these situations is a distinct lack of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have boundaries. You don't have boundaries. That's how they lure you in
You're not allowed to have boundaries.
and then keep it that way. Because I said one of the things that makes the mask drop, because what makes that happen is you create what is called narcissistic injury,
Okay.
which is usually you maybe kind of getting on to that something's not quite right. Like, oh, maybe you're kind of coming out of the cognitive dissonance, and things are a little weird. It's been maybe they've been hammering on the discard devalue lever too many times in a row,
Yeah.
to where you're kind of getting fed up and like, okay,
It's like, I don't
all right, what's going on here?
That was a shitty thing you did.
Yeah, that was fucked up. So holding them accountable, trying to do anything that creates narcissistic injury, and the more injury you create, that's the more likely to make the actual final discard happen.
Yeah.
It's usually you standing up for yourself, creating boundaries. We'll do that too.
That's the trigger point for them is just, no, we can't do this. We can't. If you aren't going to feed into delusion with me, we're not doing this. I can't do this with you.
You have to help maintain this
If
false reality.
if you're not going to be my subordinate gassing me up the entire time, we're not doing this.
Yes. So I think the best thing going out if you're out in the dating pool and you've had it run in with something like this, or you suspect either or, it's you gotta have boundaries. You have to learn to take things slower. You have to learn to look out for these kind of signs because some of them are hard. But I think if you have boundaries up and you are confident in who you are and you're being authentic, you're less likely to be preyed upon by someone like they might see that it's harder. You're harder prey.
Yeah. Because, I mean,
Scavenger types go after wounded animals. They go after lone animals.
That's exactly the analogy I was going to make. Is this the lion taking down the easiest
The
kill?
baby gazelle that gets
Left
pulled away,
behind,
or the
yeah.
old injured gazelle that's been left by the pack.
But it's like, oh, that person's emotionally intelligent, has been through this, has seen some shit. I can't take that down. I can't trick that. I can't love bomb that into submission.
Yeah, they're gonna probably maybe not take their chances.
Yeah.
So that's probably your best defense is work on yourself, strengthen up your defense game, but you don't want to be like I say, but it's within reason because then you don't want to lose what might be good connections because you're too hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
But it's practicing actual just healthy normal boundaries because you probably didn't have any at all.
Yeah.
It's why you got into
If
a
you're
toxic relationship.
Pulling someone in like this, it just
You have to take some self-reflection on your own.
And a level of desperation will do that.
Yeah.
Of just, hey, I can take what I can get. Oh, this person seems really nice. Oh, they seem really, really nice. Oh, they are really, really nice to me. Oh, no, they're not.
Yep.
No, they're not nice to me.
But then you're in too deep.
Yeah. Well, jeez. This is scary. I don't like this. I don't like vampires.
No, not in this sense. No.
No, God, no. Anything else on this?
I think we kind of touched on everything.
I mean, I think we should have led off with this, but we are not medical professionals. We are not psychologists. We are not psychiatrists. This is not medical advice, but if you or someone you're involved with, if this is a thing, if this is something you're seeing or thinking, it might be a situation, get help.
Yeah, look into it. It's worth looking into if you suspect it.
It's worth looking into. And if it is something that maybe you are dealing with personally, if it's you or a partner, get help. Go to therapy.
And that's why I say I don't like the idea of like just outright discounting, like, oh, it's a meme now, so it's dumb. Oh, I'm sure your ex was a narcissist. Like I said, just because someone isn't actually a disordered person does not mean people have not been abused in toxic relationships by people who have issues. Either way, if this is something that can like maybe like give you closure, as a bad relationship went bad and like, you have no closure and like some of the stuff's making, if that makes you feel better, hey.
Okay.
A lot of people get out of bad relationships, they're grasping at straws for something to make themselves comfort themselves.
Yeah. You got to start somewhere to start pulling yourself back up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if it is a thing, seek help, look into it, learn about it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone.
Nice.
That's what KRS-One stands for.
Cool.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm going to listen to some KRS-One.
All right, let's go. Let's go listen to KRS-One.
You guys go listen to KRS-One, but not till you listen to our other stuff. Check out the blog.
Oh, yeah.
Check out our TikTok. Check out all of our social media sites.
Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Go to Instagram. Like us on Instagram.
That's where all the good stuff's
Instagram's where you're going to find
the central hub
of all the information. And then get on Spotify and like hit the 3 little buttons, and then like it'll say like rate the show or something stupid like
something
that.
like that. Something real dumb.
And you hit
it takes
that.
like 2 seconds to do it.
Yeah, and then like all these little stars will show up, and you just like make sure they're all lit up, and then hit save.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then when you do that, your credit score goes up by 5 points.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. So if you're trying to get a new car, you go in there, give us 5 stars, and then maybe you'll get approved for that loan.
Yeah.
But other than that,
and then go listen to KRS-One.
Then go listen to KRS-One. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I like to be away in my patience. Stay up, I feel so outdated. How can we look the other way? Sun is out, but the sky is gray. What would happen if I took a chance? It's always hard at first glance. I don't wanna, but I know I gotta do it. The truth is hard to swallow, I think I'll chew it. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed. When we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew